The commercial radio industry's national radio conference is being held in Melbourne this week. Let's return to our co-host James Manning from Mediaweek, who's in Melbourne, of course, for that. James, always a very big event, and what's in store for those attending this year?
Yeah, look, it's going to be good. We're going to hear from Andrew Denton, who doesn't come out much these days, and he's sort of retired from the media, if you like. He's sold his production company, doesn't host programs anymore, so it'll be interesting what he's got to say about radio. It's, of course, one of his real loves. He did very well there as a breakfast announcer in Sydney on Triple M for quite a while, so interesting to hear what he's got to say. I'll be catching up with Jones and Amanda. I'll be interviewing them tomorrow afternoon, on Friday afternoon, which should be pretty interesting. Of course, they signed a big new contract with ARN this week. Some people are calling them the $10 million radio couple, so we'll try and find out tomorrow how accurate that is.
Absolutely, and let's get some more, because ahead of this, James did speak to the Commercial Radio Australia Chief Executive Joan Warner and asked about Andrew Denton appearing as keynote speaker at the conference.
This year we're really pleased to have got Andrew Denton, who's giving an interestingly titled keynote called Head Jobs for Cobras. So we think it probably won't be about that, but you know, he's a bit quirky. We think it'll be a really interesting, funny, you know, good start to the day.
Now, he doesn't do much these days, Andrew Denton. He likes keeping a very low profile, doesn't like being out in the media. How did you convince him? Because he presumably he's still got a very strong love of radio.
Yes, well, of course he was a top rater for a long time, and he was very interested to hear that Amanda and Jonesy are doing a session with you. He said, "Oh, my old pal Amanda." So he does have a deep love for radio, and you know, some of the best years of his life was spent being a top rating radio host. I think he was just interested and asked us a lot of questions about radio and who'd be there. So I think it is, you know, harking back to the future and thinking, yeah, I really enjoyed my time there, and this is an unusual request, so why wouldn't I go and talk to 600 radio and media people?
Also in the conference program, I saw something about you've got a new campaign starting up, Radio It's a Love Thing. Just tell us a little bit about that. Yeah,
we're launching the campaign at the conference this year, and that will be one of the main room sessions. We're quite excited about it because it's something that we intuitively know, that radio listeners are loyal, they love their radio station and or particular personalities. And so we decided, let's do some research on that. So we had Colmar Brunton do quite an in-depth piece of research, and some of that's ongoing. And then we had to pick out, well, what's the key message out of this? And we do have some very good and compelling facts about, you know, percentage of time spent listening and all that sort of stuff, which we talk about all the time. But we don't often talk about how loyal listeners are. So we've got quite an interesting launch. We've got some of people's favourite personalities actually in that session talking about why they love radio and the interactions they've had with their listeners. And we're just trying to bring home to advertisers and clients, you know, people love their local radio station, they love their favourite presenter, they follow them now, and you know, social media is fantastic for radio because it extends the program and the listener relationship with the presenter beyond an hour or 2 hours of a show. They can talk to them all day. They can go and look at them, you know, on their Facebook page or on their Twitter page or their Instagram page. So we know that listeners love radio, and our message to brands and to advertisers is, you know, these people love this radio station, or they love this radio program, or they love this particular presenter. You need to get on board with that, because they trust these people. They trust them to give them advice. They trust what they say about products. And so we think it's quite an exciting concept, and I think people will be impressed with the content that we're going to launch and the way we're going to move it through. There's a jingle, sounds bizarre, but there's a jingle. Well, it's actually a song that we had particularly written for this campaign, which is quite catchy and, you know, a little bit back to the future, but it really goes with the message we're trying to give to people.
A lot of people in media look at CRA and think, gee, they do a pretty good job for their industry. You keep your eye on everybody, I suppose. What other industry orgs do you like to, you know, check what they're up to because you think they do a good job?
Oh, well, I meet regularly with the CEOs of Free TV, with the CEO of Astra, the CEO of MFA and the CEO of AANA, because, you know, they're all of interest to us. We look at what Free TV does. They do some good campaigns. Astra, we're always interested in what they're doing. And, of course, the MFA and AANA, we're interested in their views about what we're doing. So I figure by keeping close contact with them and watching the sort of should I say propaganda that people put out. We learn lessons from everyone. You know, we certainly don't know it all, and everyone's working to a budget. So if somebody finds a good way of getting a message out, if it's another industry org, we certainly will replicate that if it works.
Let's return to our co-host, Mediaweek's James Manning, and obviously plenty of radio news about, as you're alluding to there, ahead of the conference and the Radio Awards as well, of course, this weekend. Southern Cross, it's had a lot of changes announced. Just take us through those.
Yeah, look, they've been really busy this week, and Radio Week, the week before conference, is always busy with news. So SAFM looks like they're changing the brand. They're revealing it today. We're not supposed to know yet what it is. There's been a bit of speculation, so we'll wait till they confirm it. But looks like it'll have a new name as from next Monday. They've also partnered with Shazam for a new evening chart show for the Today network stations. That's a bid to sort of knock off the success that a guy called Smallsy has at Nova. He's got that space a little bit to himself almost in some markets, doing very well. Some other news in the sector too. Shane Healy stepping down at Fairfax Radio after 25 years at the business, looks after their most successful station, 3AW, so they'll need to make sure they keep some stable management there for years to come.
Bit of a war of words breaking out between Ray Hadley and his former radio rival Mike Carlton.
Yeah, look, these two like bluing, and you know, it got a bit nasty this time, but doesn't hurt Ray Hadley's profile. And I found out today also he's won the most radio awards ever, and he's up for some more this Saturday night. So we'll see what comes of that. But he had a big lashing between him and Mike Carlton. Hadley was threatening with some legal action if he continued. I think it's probably calmed down a little bit today.
And you mentioned there about this WSFM, Jonesy and Amanda, their new deal. Just how much is it worth?
Well, yes, it could be worth $10 million, but to get to $10 million, you've got to do a few things like add up a lot of wages and a lot of years and to push it all together. But whatever the actual amount, I'm sure they're going to be well rewarded, and it's great for them to be really blossoming after 9 years on air together. This new 3-year deal will take them through to 12 years, which is a remarkable run for any breakfast show.
And just finally, Dennis Handlin celebrating 30 years with Sony Music.
Yeah, look, this is an amazing story what Dennis Handlin's done for Sony Music. I mean, 30 years ago, gee, well, there was hardly any internet, nobody was online listening to music, so he's had to, put the company through all those different challenges, if you like. They used to press records, then they went to CDs, now it's all digital downloads, and Sony Music's still pretty much thriving here, and he's, the company has acknowledged his success here. Now he's got a sort of a big role right across Asia for Sony Music.
We're going to take a quick break. We'll be back with more from James Manning on Media Week coming up in just a moment. All the latest TV ratings and news, including Could a Place to Call Home, be coming back to do a different one.